Begin this session for today. Very good afternoon, everyone. I would like to extend a heartiest welcome to all the participants present with us today. We at Sympathy Institute of Homeopathic Pharmacy and Hospital, we believe to spread and elevate the knowledge of homeopathy for all homeopaths. I am Dr. Aisha Shamsi, Principal of Sympathy Institute of Homeopathic Pharmacy and Hospital. I am here to host you all on a very interesting and knowledge-enhancing topic, which is understanding of TLC and HPTLC techniques. As we all know, standardization of crude drugs is the first and foremost step in ensuring the quality and authenticity of any drug. Where this TLC and HPTLC techniques is the most reliable technique to maintain such quality as per the requirements of the pharmacopoeia. Today we have with us Dr. Dharani. She is currently working at JIMS Hospital, Homeopathic Medical College and Hospital, Hyderabad. She is an assistant professor in the Department of Pharmacy. She will be sharing her knowledge with us on the understanding of TLC and HPTLC techniques. I extend to you a very warm welcome. It is my pleasure to have you here on this session. Welcome, ma'am.
So, good afternoon once again. So, today's topic is about the quality control in homeopathy. So, I'd like to explain in detail regarding the standardization of raw materials and finished products through TLC and HPTLC. So, I would like to start the session with quoting the aphorism 264 mentioned by our master, Dr. Samuel Hahnemann, in aphorism 264 in Organon of Medicine in 6th edition. The true physician must be provided with genuine medicines of unimpaired strength. So it is not only the proper case taking and selection of similimum helps in the gentleness of the cure. The main concept here it is that physician has to be provided with a genuine medicine where the therapeutical action is based upon the quality of the medicine which has been provided. So coming to the quality control, the quality has to be maintained starting from the raw material through the entire process of manufacturing until the finished products. So at different levels, the quality has to be maintained. So how you know the quality? So the quality of the medicine, it is the guidelines has been given in the Drug and Cosmetic Act. So HPL, that is Homeopathic Pharmacopoeia Laboratory, it tends to follow the guidelines as per the Drug and Cosmetic Act. And whatever the tests performed in HPL, it will be published in a form of HPI by Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India. So by keeping the HPA standards, all the pharmaceutical companies, they try to maintain the or manufacture the good quality products. So coming to the quality management. So the quality management in the pharmaceutical industry, it can be talks in two different ways. One, it is quality control, another is a quality assurance. So what is the meaning of a quality control and quality assurance? Can anyone tell? I think most of the students are there, right? So what is the difference between the quality control and quality assurance? Students?
Ma'am, we will have a question answer session at the end of this.
Okay. So the quality control is a various technique which has been involved in the production. That means right starting from the raw material till the finished products, various analytical techniques will be involved. So in order to bring the assured product to meet with the compliance with the specification as per our HPA. So this we call it as a quality control. Whereas a quality assurance is during this entire process, either it can be a validation of a raw material, or it can be during the manufacturing process, or it can be the environmental conditions, or it can be a documentation process at various levels, how the quality that we are able to follow it, that we call it as a quality assurance. So both the quality control and quality assurance plays an important role in a pharmaceutical industries in order to maintain the quality management. So these are all the various levels of the quality management, like quality assurance, GMP, that is a good manufacturing practices, quality control, production, in-process control, self-control, and then self-inspection. So at various level, the things has to be maintained in order to get a good quality product. So before starting the proper section, I want to show the example of the finished product standard, which is mentioned in the, since our topic is still about the thin layer chromatography and high performance thin layer chromatography, I'm just quoting the finished product standard, which has been mentioned in HPI volume 6. Example, I've shown the drug is Andrographis paniculata. In this, you can check see the details. What are all the parameters have been mentioned for to check the quality of a mother tincture. So they've given the alcohol content, pH of the mother tincture, weight per ml, total solids, lambda max, and below that you can see there is an identification points where they have been explained in order to carry out the TLC using a chloroform and methanol as a mobile phase. So as a beginning of the section, students may not be aware of the word the mobile phase and stationary phase. At the end of the class, we can come to an understanding. So what they have been actually trying to what has been actually it has been mentioned in the HPA. So you can see for each drug in HPA, what is the mobile phase has to be used, and when we are performing the HPTLC or TLC, what are all the expected RF value has been given in the standard textbook. So if you want to meet the standards, or if you want to meet the good quality product, these are all the some few parameters which has been mentioned in the HPA. So according to keeping this as a standard, we can able to perform the testers at a laboratory level. So coming to the pharmaceutical analytical techniques. So the word pharmaceutical analytics, it is a separate subject. So it is a major role today, and it is considered as an interdisciplinary subject. Why we call it as an interdisciplinary subject means because am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Yeah.
Please continue.
If I'm a bit fast, you just tell me so that I can slow it down.
Yeah, it's a little bit fast. Can you go a little slow?
Yeah, slow. Yeah. So, so this pharmaceutical analytical technique, why we call it as an interdisciplinary subject means we takes a principle from the various branches of science like chemistry, physics, microbiology, nuclear science, and electronic. So we takes a principle from the various other branches of science. By incorporating the various other principles, we can able to find apply it in analytical techniques. So our analytical techniques, it can be a quantitative analysis or it can be a qualitative analysis. So what is the difference between the qualitative technique and quantitative technique means? For example, if you take a mother tincture, this mother tincture,
A small request to all the participants here. Please mute yourself so that you don't get disturbed in between. Everyone, please mute yourself so that we can listen to Dr. Dharani in a quiet and peaceful environment. Humble request to all of you. Yes, Dr. Dharani, please continue.
yeah. Shall I continue, ma'am?
Yes,
Yeah.
please continue.
So coming to the pharmaceutical techniques, we have qualitative technique and quantitative techniques. So what is the difference between the qualitative and quantitative technique means? For example, if you take a mother tincture, so we have a different constituents will be present in a mother tincture. For example, we have an alkaloids, tannins, carbohydrates, glycosides. So by testing the phytochemical analysis, so the phytochemical analysis are one part of a quality testing that we can able to know whether the mother tincture is a good quality or not. So in this, we can just able to tell whether the phytoconstituents are present or not. So this technique, we call it as a qualitative technique. Whereas the test like HPTLC. So in this, in HPTLC, we can able to confirm how much quantity.
Ma'am, your slide is not changing.
Yeah. I'm it's changing, ma'am.
The next slide, please. Yes.
Yeah. So before going into the proper chromatography, so the difference between qualitative, so in qualitative analysis like phytochemical analysis testing, we can just know how quality our products are. Whereas in case of a quantitative analysis, we can able to tell how much quantity of each constituents have been present in the mother tincture. So that is a major difference between your qualitative technique and quantitative technique. So your HPTLC and TLC, it comes under the quantitative technique of pharmaceutical analysis, whereas your phytochemical analysis, it comes under the qualitative technique of the. So this is a basic understanding of the differentiation between your qualitative and quantitative techniques. So coming to the chromatography, so it is a separation of a mixture into the individual compounds
अभी
using
चलेगा
a
क्या आज
stationary phase and a mobile phase. So as I've already said,
कुछ
if you
देख
take any mother tincture,
डॉक्टर
it contains a
पद्मावती
various.
कृपया mute करें आपको.
So in chromatography, as it is a separation of a mixture of a compounds into a individual compounds using a stationary phase and mobile phase. So what exactly we do here, it is the mother tincture contains a various components will be present in it. By using this chromatographic techniques, we can able to separate the each individual constituent. So there are the various type of chromatographies are present based upon the different phases, like based on the stationary phase and mobile phase, we have separate classification. And based on the principle of separation, we have a various classification. So I'm not going into depth about these classification. So coming to the history of the thin layer chromatography, it was dated back in 1938, but the actual setup, the standard equipment setup was been framed in the year 1958. So coming to the proper explanation for the thin layer chromatography, it works on the principle of adsorption. So the word meaning of adsorption. So what is the difference between absorption and adsorption means? For example, if you keep a piece of a sponge in a water, it tends to absorb all the water. So that we call it as an absorption technique, that is AB. Whereas in case of your TLC, the principle here, it is an adsorption. So the better example for adsorption is if you take a piece of a magnet and it has been placed in a mud or a sand, it tends to attract the iron particles. So if you observe, those particles will be seen on the surface of the magnet. So this is an exact example for your the meaning of adsorption. So the principle for TLC, it is based upon the principle of adsorption. So here actually what we'll do is, we all know that mother tincture, as I said before, the mother tincture contain various constituents are present in it. So by using this technique, we are going to separate each and every constituents on a layer of an adsorbent. So what I'm trying to tell, the adsorbent what we are using in the thin layer chromatography is silica gel. That is the most commonly used adsorbent on a chromatographic plate. And usually for the mobile phase, we'll use various solvents based upon their capillary action, we'll be using it. So these are all the various steps which is involved in the performing a thin layer chromatography. So students, listen carefully, because the same steps, if it has been done manually, means that we call it as a thin layer chromatography. When these steps has been performed by throwing a well-equipped instruments, then we call it as an HPTH, that is a high performance thin layer chromatography. So your thin layer chromatography is a basic understanding. If you have been clear in this thin layer chromatography, your HPTLC will be the understanding of HPTLC will be much better. So these are all the various steps which has been involved. So that is a stationary phase, glass plates, preparation and activation of TLC plates, application of a sample, development tank, mobile phase, development technique, and deducting or visualizing agent. So first, so far I'm be using the word stationary phase and mobile phase. So you'll get a better understanding by seeing the upcoming slides. So the stationary phase, otherwise called as an adsorbance. So adsorbent is nothing but, so whatever is there in our sample, it tends to stick on the surface of the stationary phase. So the commonly used stationary phases are silica gel H, silica gel G, silica gel GF, alumina, aluminum oxide, cellulose powder. So these are all the various commonly used stationary phase, or otherwise called as an adsorbent. And these are all the composition for each stationary phase. And in third column, you can see there is an adsorbent and water ratio. That means in order to prepare the stationary phase, how much quantity of your adsorbents to be taken and how much quantity of water should be added, it is more important. So for example, if I'm using a silica gel G, we need a adsorbent, that is 1 part of a silica gel powder and 2 parts of an water. That is, if I'm taking 10 grams of silica gel powder, means I have to take a 20 grams of water in order to prepare the stationary phase. So this is a next step, that is a preparation and activation of the TLC plates. The first step, it is pouring technique. So there are various techniques has been involved in the preparation. That is pouring technique, dipping technique, spraying technique, and spreading technique. Once a preparation is done, then we have to do the activation of the TLC plates. So this is a stationary phase, what I have told in the previous slide. There are various stationary phases are there. The most commonly used is stationary phase. That is the most commonly used adsorbent is silica gel. And I'm using the variety of silica gel G. So for silica gel G, the adsorbent and water ratio, it is in 1:2 ratio. So what I have done, so we have to take a silica gel of, for example, if I'm taking a 10 grams of silica gel powder, I mix with double the quantity of water. So 20 grams of water can be added into it. So after adding into it, so this is a slurry preparation. So what we have to do, we have to take up silica gel powder, and then we need to add water into it and make a thick. It is not too thick or too watery. So we need to prepare a slurry. So this we call it as a slurry preparation. I have told there are different techniques are there in preparation of the stationary phase. That means once a slurry has been done, that has to be coated on the glass plates. So glass plates can be at various sizes according to our requirement. It can be taken like 20 into 20 centimeter or 20 into 10 centimeter or 20 into 5 centimeter. So various glass plates can be used for the preparation of the stationary phase. So the technique here, so I have mentioned that there are 4 techniques are there in order to prepare the stationary phase. One, it is a pouring technique. So here you can see I have taken this slurry onto the glass plate and just poured the slurry onto the glass plate. I'm just shaking the glass plate so that it gets spread all over. And if any excess of the stationary phase is there, that is the slurry is there, we need to keep it in a slanting position so that any excess of the silica gel is there, means it will get removed from it. The advantage here it is less quantity of slurry preparation is enough, but disadvantage is we can't able to get the uniform coating or uniform thickness of the silica gel won't be there on the glass plate. At one end it can be more thicker, or at other end it can be a thinner. So this is a disadvantage in case of the pouring technique. Whereas the next technique called dipping technique, where you need to prepare the large quantity of a slurry and you need to dip the glass plate into the slurry. What is the advantage here? It is you will get a uniform coating of your stationary phase, but the disadvantage here it is we need a large amount of slurry preparation, so much more it will get wasted. And then third technique is a spraying technique, it is just like how you spray the perfume sprays. The slurry has to be taken in the spraying bottle and it has to be sprayed over the glass plate. Again, in spraying technique, the disadvantage, I didn't have the picture of the spraying technique, but what they will do in spraying technique means they'll just spray the slurry into the glass plate. The disadvantage it is, again, it is similar to your pouring technique. At one end, it can be more amount can be coated. Other end, it can be the uniform thickness cannot be maintained in case of a spraying technique as well. So the last technique, the most advisable technique is a spreading technique. That is spreading the stationary phase onto the glass plate through the TLC spreader. So this we call it as a TLC spreader. You can see here, there is a spaces there in order for pouring the slurry. And here there is various adjustments are there. You can see the adjustments. So how much thickness the stationary phase can be coated onto the plate, that we can decide whether we want the thickness of your stationary phase of 0.5 mm or 1 mm or 2 mm. That can be thickness can be adjusted by using the TLC spreader, and this is a most advised method of preparing the stationary phase. So this is how the spreading technique has to be done. You need to pour it onto the spreader and that has to be dragged down. Here you can see there is a, once again I'll play, here you can see there is a uniform spreading of a stationary phase, that is a uniform spreading of adsorbent onto the glass plate. So here the advantage is the less amount of slurry is used. Another advantage is you will get a uniform thickness or uniform coating of a stationary phase onto the glass plate. So this is after spreading. You can see there are the first picture, it is immediately after the spreading. You can see the wetness is still there in the glass plate. Whereas in the second plate, it is completely dried. So this is after drying. The plate has to be, so the next process involved in this preparation is an activation of the plate. That means after spreading, we need to dry the plate at the room temperature. Once it has been completely dried, and this has to be kept in the hot air oven, this we call it as an activation of the plate. So in activation of the plate, what we'll do, the dried plate has to be kept for 1 to 2 hours at 105 degrees centigrade. So this activation is done in order to remove any excess moisture is present in the plate. So this we call it as an activation of the plate. So this is the first and major step which is involved in the thin layer chromatography. I think now you all understand why the name we call it as a thin layer chromatography means we are making a very thin layer of a stationary phase or a very thin layer of an adsorbent onto the glass plate. That's why the technique we call it as a thin layer chromatography. So this is the first step which has been involved in the preparation. And then the next step, it is an application of a sample. I think you can see the samples. I have taken a Justitia mother tincture and I have taken Kuruchi mother tincture, that is Holirana antidysenterica mother tincture. So in application part, what we have to do, we all know our sample contains a more amount of alcohol is present in it. So before the application of the samples, what we have to do. So the plate, the white color image, what you're seeing just below the china dish, it is also a stationary phase. That is, it is also a silica gel plate only, but this is not. So far what I've shown, it is a manual method of preparation of the plate. And what I am shown in this picture, it is a ready-made TLC plate which is available in the market. What is an advantage of this ready-made plate? It is very thin. That means the adsorbent is been, that is a silica gel will be coated onto the aluminium sheet and it will be a very thin sheet. So advantage, it is very, for all your research purpose, you can procure this ready-made sheets and your result will be fabulous if you are using this ready-made sheets. But disadvantage, it is much more costlier than the manual method of preparing the plates. So what you have to do, either it can be a manual plate or it can be the ready-made sheets. From below, you can see there is one line I have been drawn. So you have to draw approximately some 2 to 3 centimeter line from the base. And over the line only, you are going to spot the sample. This we call it as an application of a sample. And especially in case of your mother tinctures in homeopathic medicines, This mother tincture, since it is more diluted form, what we have to do, we have to concentrate the sample. So for that purpose, you take a few mLs or one or 2 ml of a mother tincture, required mother tincture in a china dish, and keep it in the water bath. So what happens when you're keeping in a water bath? The excess alcohol, moisture is there, it will tends to evaporate. Only will get some concentrated sample you will get in a china dish. By using a capillary tube, to just spot 1 or 2 spotting in the onto the line. You can see there's for Kuruchi also the spotting is kept on the line of the on the line which has been drawn from the base. Similarly for just issue also you can see the spotting is done on the line which has been drawn from the base. And we have to mention which drug that we are going to run the TLC. And in same sheet, you can mark n number of samples, but make sure if at all you're marking more than more than 2 or 3 samples, there should be some minimum distance should be kept from one sample to the other sample. So all the samples can be placed one after the other with equidistance on the same line which has been drawn. So by using a capillary tube, you can see the capillary tube. By using a capillary tube, the sample can be taken and this can be spotted onto the line. And next comes I think so far you have clear about the stationary phase, how the stationary phase has to be prepared. Both it can be a manual method or it can be the ready-made plates which has been available in the market. And next we have seen an application of the sample, that is application of mother tincture onto the stationary phase. And next point that you want to understand is a mobile phase. So mobile phase is nothing but the solvents which we are going to use for the TLC. So the solvents, it depends upon the type of the drug what we are going to use. The solvents can be chosen. So there are various solvents are being used in the chromatographic techniques. I'll give a few examples. The solvents like petroleum ether, benzene, toluene acetone, chloroform, ethyl acetate, methanol, water. So these are all the few solvents. So when you're running the chromatography, either you can use a single solvent or it can be a mixture of solvents. So how you know which solvents can be used for homeopathic medicine means the reference is given in our HPA. If at all in HPA only for few drugs solvent mixture is given. For many drugs it is not there. So how you know which solvent can be used means it is purely by trial and error method. We have to check it on the different solvent proportions and combination, in which solvent we can able to get the better spots. Then you can fix the solvent combination and ratios, or you can do the review of literature in other system for particular drug. For example, if Tridax is there, Tridax is not mentioned in our HPA. So you can try the what are the solvents used in other system for Tridax in order to run a chromatography. So it is purely the selection of a solvent is based upon your trial and error method or from your review of literature, or depends upon the solubility of the substances. You can confirm with the solvents. And this is a development tank. So your development tank is nothing but a transparent rectangular tank. It is a very thick walled glass chamber. You can see there is a lid over it. In the bottom part, you can see there is a hump. So what is the reason for this hump means if your bottom surface, your bottom of your tank, if it is a flat surface means what happens, you need a large quantity of a solvents to be used for the chromatography. But because of the hump, less quantity of a solvent can be used. So that's the reason why the hump has been kept in the developmental tank. And then next comes, we need to saturate the atmosphere before the performing the chromatography. That means for each drug in our standard reference book, they mentioned, right, what is a stationary phase to be used and what are the solvents to be used. So for example, chloroform and methanol, it has been mentioned in the ratio of 9:1. So what we have to do, we have to measure that methanol 9 parts and 1 part of your chloroform. That means you can multiply the quantity depending upon the size of a tank, but make sure it should not touch the spot. For example, if this is a spot, when you're placing this sheet in the development tank, the spot should not touch by the solvent. That means what? Your solvent has to be at the lower level only. A solvent should not directly touch the spot. So to that extent, but make sure the ratio has to be maintained. If, for example, if you want the quantity mentioned as 9:1 means, you can take 18 parts and 2 parts, or you can take 27 parts, 3 parts. So in that, but make sure the ratio has to be maintained. So in such a way, you need to measure the solvent and it has to be poured into the
Second year. Obviously,
it has to be poured into the development tank. After pouring the solvent into the development tank, we need to close the tank with its lid. And the next part we have to do here it is, we need to saturate the atmosphere. So what is the meaning of saturation of atmosphere?
नहीं रखते हैं, यहीं रखते हैं, खत्म हो गई तो बस
प्रजापति जी
extra
प्लीज ऑफ योर माइक्रोफोन.
So what is the meaning of saturation of an atmosphere means once a measured solvent has been poured into the development tank, to take a piece of a filter paper, moisten that filter paper in the solvent, and you need to place that filter paper in the upper side of the tank. So what is the reason of placing the moistened filter paper in solvent to be placed in the tank inside means we are doing the saturation of an atmosphere. So what is the meaning of saturation of atmosphere? Why we need to do it means because in order to avoid the edge effect when the TLC has been running. What is the meaning of edge effect means, for example, you imagine what you're taking one paper and dipping in a water. What happens when it has been dipped in a water? You can see the absorbed water into the paper, right? Similar way, when you are keeping the TLC plate inside the developmental tank, when the solvent will get absorbed by the silica gel, the solvent, it moves up. You can able to see the solvent has been moving towards in the upper direction. If the saturation of atmosphere is not done properly, what happens is solvent only in the middle part, it tends to move faster. At both the end, it will be at the lower level only. So in order to avoid this, we call it as an edge effect. That means whatever the solvent absorbed onto the stationary phase, that means on the silica gel, we need the uniform movement of the solvent onto the stationary phase. So in order to achieve this, we need to saturate the atmosphere. So how you can saturate the atmosphere? Before starting the chromatographic process, you add this required quantity of a solvent into the development tank and moisten the filter paper with the solvent and place it inside the tank and close the tank. And we need to keep it for at least minimum 20 to 25 minutes so that the entire the inside atmosphere of your development tank, it will get saturated. So this we call it as a saturation. Why we want to saturate this atmosphere inside the development tank means in order to avoid the edge effect. That means we want the solvent has to be moved uniformly. We don't want to be like middle it has been it is moved faster, and at the both the ends if it is moving slower. We don't avoid, in order to avoid such effect, in order to avoid the edge effect, we need to saturate the atmosphere. And this is this is a saturation of tank. You can see here in first picture I've shown methanol ammonia, it is in a ratio of 100:1.5. That is 100 ml of methanol and 1.5 ml of ammonia has been added. Whereas in this second picture, you can see it is a chloroform methanol. It is in a ratio of 9:1. That is 9 ml. You can multiply the quantity on both the sides. So if at all I'm taking in 18 ml, here I can take a 2 ml of methanol. And it has been closed for some 20 minutes in order to saturate the atmosphere. And then this is a picture. So you can see I've just fast forwarded the, it takes, it is more than half an hour it will take for the TLC to run. Since the video is fast forward, you can see how the solvent moves. So you can see how the absorption of solvent. As it moves, each spot also it has been moving gradually. So here you can see in this, I'm just passing this video. Here you can see the difference between how exactly the area looks like when the solvent has been absorbed and where the solvent has been not absorbed. So we have spotted, so when the line is drawn in 2 centimeters from the below, and we have spotted the mother tincture onto the line, and then we have saturated the atmosphere. That means we have measured the mobile phase and it has been poured into the development tank, and we have closed the chamber in order to saturate it. And after saturation, we have placed that TLC plate into the tank, and you can observe the solvent is not touching the spot where the spot has been placed. The solvent is at the lower level only. But as soon as the lower part, when the stationary phase touches the solvent has been absorbed onto the stationary phase and it moves gradually. And at one point, what happens is solvent goes and stops there. Beyond one point, the solvent will not move. So you have to calculate the distance from the line which you have drawn up to the line where, for example, if at all the solvent is stopping here, you can see I'm keeping the cursor. If the solvent stops here, you have to measure the line from the line drawn to this point. So this we call it as a distance traveled by the solvent, or else we call it as a solvent front. Whereas the drug which has been spotted, you can see there is a different spots you'll get. So each spot has to be measured from the baseline. From the line from where it has been drawn, from that line, you have to measure each and every spot. That is, we call it as a distance traveled by a solute. So this is a difference between a distance traveled by a solute and a distance traveled by a solvent. So distance traveled by a solute is nothing but each spot to be measured from the line drawn. That is a distance traveled by a solute. Whereas the entire line of solvent, where it goes and stops at one point, so that we call it as a distance traveled by a solvent. So there is another technique called developmental technique, whether it is a one-dimensional or two-dimensional, it is much more in advanced level. So next comes your detecting or visualizing agent. So what is a detecting and visualizing agent means? There are, for few drugs, as soon as the TLC has been run, we can able to see the spots through our naked eye. That means just by seeing into the plate, you can see some colored spots are there. But for some drugs, you can't see the spots through our naked eye. So in such cases, what we have to do? We have to keep either some techniques has been involved in order to develop those spots. So what are all the different methods in which the spots can be developed are specific methods and non-specific methods. Non-specific method means you can't tell just by seeing the spots whether the spot is an alkaloid spot or it is a tannin spot or it is a glycoside spot. So you can just able to bring the colors to the spots by keeping an iodine chamber or spraying some agents like sulfuric acid spray, anisaldehyde sprays, as different sprays, or antimonium trichloride spray. Different spraying agents will be mentioned in our HPI itself. For particular drug, what are the detecting methods can be used, like that it will be mentioned. So by using those as a reference, we can able to produce a spot, or we can able to visualize a spot. That we call it as a non-specific method. Whereas a specific method means, for example, for ferric chloride, if you want to know whether the mother tincture contains a phenolic compound or not, you need to spray the particular reagent called ferric chloride spray. So if you spray ferric chloride, if at all phenolic compound is present in our mother tincture, means the spot which we appeared on it will get appear on the stationary phase, it will be of either green color or blue color. So that you can confirm, yes, this is a phenolic compound or tannin. Or if you want to know the amino acids, you need to spray the ninhydrin spray. Or if you want to know the alkaloids, you have to spray the dragon rock spray. So for specific phytoconstituent, if you want to know the constituent, means the specific reagents or specific spray has to be used. Whereas for the non-specific method, we doesn't want to know whether it is an alkaloid or tannins or resins or whatever it is. You can use a non-specific method like any spraying agent which has been mentioned by HPI, or you can keep it in iodine chamber, or you can keep it in a UV chamber. UV chamber means just a UV mission. Once if you keep it under the UV chamber at different wavelength, it can be a short wavelength or it can be a longer wavelength, you can able to visualize the spots. Whereas an iodine chamber is nothing but you take a glass jar, you place some few iodine crystal into it and close and cover it for 15 to 20 minutes. So the entire glass chamber will get saturated with the iodine vapors. Then you can place your stationer, that is, you can place your TLC sheet into the chamber. So slowly the color will get developed. So this is, we call it as a detecting or visualizing agent. So for example, you can understand better by seeing this picture. For example, for Justicia, I have not sprayed any spraying reagent, or it is not under the UV. It is just after performing the TLC run, some color spot has been appeared. You can see there is a green color spot, light yellow, little darker yellow, various spots in various colors has been appeared. So otherwise your why we call it as a chromatography means chroma means color. Graphy means graphical representation. So different colors will be developed in a graphical way. That's why we call it as a chromatography. So in Justicia, and this is, and by just looking into the picture and by calculating the RF value, here we can't quantify the constituent here. That means we can't tell how much quantity of alkaloid or tannins are present in it. So that's why we call this as a qualitative technique. But whereas the same sheet, when we are keeping under the densitometer will scan and tell how much quantity of compound will be there. If it can able to tell the quantity of it, then it comes under the quantitative analysis. But just looking into through our eyes, you can able to qualify whether it is a good quality mother tincture or not. So you can see just side of the color bands, some pencil dots I've kept, right? So you need to measure. So this is one spot, and this is second spot. This is spot number 3, and this is spot number 4. So how you will calculate the spot means from the line drawn up to here. This is for example, this is point A, and from here this is point B. So similar way, you need to measure each spot from the baseline which has been drawn. So this is a distance traveled by solute. And what will be the distance traveled by solvent means the solvent at one point the solvent moves forward, at one point it goes and stops. So from here to, for example, if it stops here, and this will be your distance traveled by solvent, or we call it as a solvent front. So for how will you calculate the RF value means for each spot, for example, your solvent front, that is a distance traveled by your solvent is 10 centimeter means, and from here to here it is 6 centimeter, and for second spot it's 7 centimeter. So how the calculation will be means RF value equals to distance traveled by a solute divided by distance traveled by a solvent. That means for all the spots the distance traveled by a solvent is 10 centimeter, but for each spot the distance traveled by solute will be varying. For example, if it is 6 means 6 by 7, sorry, 6 by 10, or 7 by 10, or 8 by 10. So we need to calculate. So your values will be 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, like that you will get a value. So always your RF value will be between 0 to 1. It will not be beyond 1. So how you tell our mother tincture is a good quality or not? By running the TLC means in our HPI for each finished products of a mother tincture, like some parameters I've shown in the starting slide, right? Like alcohol content, total solids, different pH, weight per ml. In that, one of the parameter they mentioned it is for TLC, what are all the solvents to be used, and what are all the detecting agent. That means what's spraying agent or any whether it has to be seen under UV, that will be mentioned, and below that RF value will be given. So by checking comparing the RF value which we obtained, that has to be compared with the RF value which has been mentioned in the HPA. So by checking that, we can able to come to know whether the product or the finished product what we are having, it is in a good quality or not. And here you can see this next picture, it is an Ignitia. And so Ignitia, you can see this is a picture taken under the UV light. So under UV light, you can see the difference in the color, right? And here, the marking here, it is a solvent front. That is from here to here, it is a distance traveled by a solvent. And from here, this is one spot and the second spot, and this is a third spot. So from here, you have to measure up to here, that is point number 1. From here to here, this is point number 2. Again, you have to measure the point number 3. So for all the 3 points, the solvent front will be same. This is one more drug. So this I want to know, I want to show you how the difference of the visualizing agent. So I've told like deducting and visualizing agent, right? So this is same Kuruchi. After running the TLC, so always when you're running the TLC, once the solvent goes and stop at one point, you have to mark it with some marking, either with a pencil or pen. Why it is because once a plate is taken out from the development tank, since a solvent, it obviously it evaporates, right? So you can't see the marking of a solvent where it stops. So immediately after taking out from the development tank, you mark the marking up to where the solvent has been moved. For example, for Kuruchi, up to here, the solvent has been moved. I've been marked in a pencil here, right? But you can't see any spots here. So what we have to do in such cases, whereas for Justicia, immediately after taking, we can able to see the spot through our naked eye. So it's not a problem. But here, you can't able to see the spot here. So what we have to do here, what is a specific reagent is a spraying agent is required for this particular Kuruchi, we have to see. So in HPA for Kuruchi, they mentioned that spraying agent is a drag and drop reagent. So you have to spray the drag and drop reagent. So the second picture is after spraying with the drag and drop reagent. So you can see, and one more thing, if at all you're spraying with a drag and drop reagent, what will be the color of the spot also will be mentioned. So here they mentioned the color of the spot will be orange color. Similarly, we got an orange color spot after spraying with the drag and drop reagent. The entire sheet has been sprayed, but you can see there is a differentiation of, this is also light orange color, but you can see the darker orange shade here, right? So this is one spot and this other spot, and this here, one more here, and here we have one more spot. And this is a solvent friend. So we have to mark, after spraying the spraying agent, we need to measure the distance traveled by the solute and then distance traveled by the solvent. And this is one more example, Acorus calamus. Here, I have taken the Acorus calamus from the different companies. You can see A, B, C, D, E of different manufacturing companies I have taken. And then, so all can be spotted in one single sheet. So here I've used ready-made sheets. So you can see there is some distance has been there from one spot to other spot, and you have to run, because for all, since it is a one same drug, obviously the solvent will be same. So, but you can see the, for example, in F drug, nothing has been, no spot has been appeared. Whereas in sample C and D, you can see the proper development of spots are there. So this RF value has to be matched with the RF value which is mentioned in the HPA in order to know which company has been good quality. Okay. So again, when you're doing this deducting technique, we can categorize this as another way. Either it can be a destructive technique or a non-destructive technique. For example, if you're keeping your TLC plate in your UV chamber or iodine chamber or densitometer, nothing, your sheet is not going to get destructed. Whereas if you're spraying any strong acids, for example, sulfuric acid spray, obviously the plate will get destructed. That means you can't use it for the like you can't visualize it for the in other different ways. For example, if you want to keep it in a normal Kuruchi, you can visualize in UV chamber or you can visualize in iodine chamber. That is possible because those things are in a non-destructive method. But once if your any strong acid has been sprayed over the sheet, it will get destructed. So this can't be viewed in some other visualizing agent. That is not possible. So this is how your RF value can be calculated. That is distance traveled by a solute and then by the distance traveled by the solvent, and always your RF value will be between 0 to 1. And there is one more value called, there is one more value called Rx value. That is a distance traveled by a sample and the distance traveled by a standard. So what is the meaning of this means? For example, one more word, it has been mentioned in HPA as in core TLC. For example, if you take a belladonna. So belladonna has a different constituent like alkaloid, tannins, glycosides, many constituents will be present. So if you take a alkaloid like atropine, if you want to check, so for example, in this picture, you can see, imagine this is a belladonna mother tincture. In this we are getting a 3 spots. So this can be 3 different constituents. A blue can be an alkaloid or it can be a tannin. This red spot, usually the alkaloid will be in the red color spot. And so if you want to know out of these 3 spots, which is an atropine means, what you can do, you can take you'll get a standard sample solution in the market. So you can procure the atropine standard from the market, and then that atropine has to be placed next to the sample and you have to run the TLC. So what happens? Atropine, it is a one single constituent. The atropine goes and lodges at one particular point. So for example, if atropine go and lodges here, and this has to be matched with the exact opposite spot. So the spot which is correlating with the atropine spot, that is a alkaloid, that is an atropine component which is present in our mother tincture. So this we call it as a co-TLC. That means standard has to be run along with our sample. So obviously a standard will be one single constituent only. So in our mix by TLC, we can't identify which constituent it is. But when we are running the co-TLC, that means if you are spotting one single point along with your drug, we can able to confirm it whether that is particular point is meeting with our standard or not. That we call it as an RX value. So always, so this RX value also will be similar to, it is closer to 1 value only. So this is a distance, how we will calculate the, so this is a description given in our HPA, that is chloroform methanol ratio in the ratio of 9:1, Dragonroff reagent we have to use, and we'll get a color, orange color spots. And this is how your RF value can be calculated. So I think now you can better understand the line. So the compounds move according to the affinity towards adsorbent. That means how much affinity they are each compound. That means the alkaloid, tannins, flavonoids, how affinity they're having towards a stationary phase. According to that, it will move towards a stationary phase. If a compound is having more affinity towards stationary phase, that is on silica gel, means it moves slower. If your compound having a less affinity towards a stationary phase, means it will move faster. Okay, that means it moves faster means it will move fast and go and launches at the higher level if it is having less affinity. Some compounds you can see it is launching at the lower end only. That means what, it is moving very slowly. So it can't, since it is having a very lesser affinity towards a stationary phase, it can't move beyond. So that's a reason why some spots are seeing in the lower level only, because those compounds which are having a lesser affinity, it is not moving faster. So it is going very slower. So it going, since it's going slower, it lodges at the lower level itself. So by using a densitometer, we can able to quantify how much quantity of an alkaloid or tannins are present in it. And what is an advantage of this TLC means? It is a very simple method and equipment cost is very low and it's a very rapid technique. Reduction is very easy, or any compound can be analyzed. When compared to your column chromatography, that is a different technique. When compared to column chromatography, the solvent and stationary phase requirement is very less in case of TLC. And where this can be applied means, if you want to know the identification of a drug or identification of a compounds or identification of some mixture of drugs has been given there, in such cases, this can be applied. So coming to an HPTLC, what is the major difference between your TLC and HPTLC means? So far, I've told different levels, right? Right, we have prepared the stationary phase, excuse me, and then we have done the application of a sample. That means spotting of a drug, I have explained. Then we need to measure the mobile phase, that is solvent has to be measured according to our requirement, and that has to be poured into a developmental tank. And we need to saturate the atmosphere. Then we have to keep the plate inside the development tank, and we have to run the TLC. Once the TLC has been run, what you have to do? Whichever the requirement, in order to detect the spots, whether you are going to keep it under the UV chamber or if the spots has been seen directly, or for some condition it can be some spraying agent can be used. And then we have to measure the RF value manually. That means how much the solvent is traveled or how much the solute is traveled. We have to measure it in an individual way manually. But so all these things, if it has been done by a highly equipped machine, that we call it as an HPTLC. So all the process, whatever I've explained so far, if it is done by a highly equipped instrument, then the technique we call it as a high performance thin layer chromatography. So it is also a thin layer chromatography only, but it will be more precise when compared to your TLC. So it is an advanced technique. It is improved separation, higher sensitivity, and it is reproducibility. That means we can able to do the replication of the same experiment for n number of times. Whereas when we are doing it manually, the first time we have done in some other way, the same thing may not be possible when we are doing it for the second time. So the replication here and there, some errors will be there. But when we are performing the same, when you are running the Kuruchi under the HPTLC, n number of time, if you do the replication also, you can able to do so the replication process is it is more reproducible when compared to the TLC technique. So, and coming to the spotting here, they'll use a 10 microliter and TLC plate. Here we'll not use a manual plates. Obviously, we'll be using the ready-made TLC sheet which is available in the market, and we'll use an auto sampler. And we have a new method of new type of a developmental chambers will be there. This is how you can see here they kept the ready-made plates here. And this is an auto sample applicator. That means if you load the sample into the machine itself will decide how much the quantity has to be spotted onto the TLC sheet will be done by the sample applicator. And this is a scanner. So if at all we are not getting any colors after running the TLC, HPTLC, this is a chromatogram immersion. That means they will immerse the sheet. You can see the sheet has been clipped here and it will be immersed into a solvent in order to get the colors, in order to develop the colors. Or else if you want to do any spraying reagents, this instrument will do the spraying technique. So, and densitometer in HPTLC, you can see there are uniform bands of the chromatogram is possible. This is not possible in case of thin layer chromatography. And each spot you can see, for example, in the second picture, you can see what is the concentration of the each chromatogram can be analyzed by using the densitometer. So it is a quantitative analysis of a sample. So these are all the various steps. Sample application by the auto applicator, and then the plate will be kept in the controlled chamber, and deduction and visualization also done by derivation method, and then documentation is done by the densitometer. So this is a flow work of your HPTLC. Sample application, chromatogram development. If the chromatogram, if a color is not developed, then we have to keep it for the immersion technique or spraying technique. Once a color has been developed, then we have to visualize under the UV light. And then finally, we have to keep it in the densitometer in order to get the quantification of a sample. So the methodology is same. The only difference between your TLC and HPTLC is here each and every step has been done by the automatic, that is a high-end machineries will be performing the procedures. So that is a main difference between a TLC and HPTLC. So I want to show an example. Since in beginning I have told for each drug the solvent ratios can be differ, or you can choose your solvent and your combination in a different proportions. And I've told one more word, it is like a trial and error method. For example, if you want to test an unknown drug where we don't have a proper review of literature, and if you want to run the HPTLC or TLC, you have to do try the different composition of solvents in different ratios. You have to try it. So I'm just want to show one drug. For example, in method 1, we have tried in toluene, ethyl acetate, methanol, formic acid in the ratio of 7.5 ml, 2.5 ml, 2.5 ml, and 0.6 ml volume by volume. Okay. And this is how the drug looks like. That is the same drug from different companies we have taken. You can see a different wavelength at 254 nanometer. It is under UV. You can see the chromatogram was not much developed. Whereas in 366 nanometer, you can see you observe the better spots here, right? And this is the same plate after spraying the anisaltate sulfuric acid reagent. That's why this is the That's why this we call it as a non-destructive technique. That means after absorbing in UV, you can take it out and then you can spray the spraying agent. But once the spraying agent has been sprayed, because this is a destructive technique, again you can't see the same spot like this in the under the UV, because this is the spraying agent is a destructive technique. Okay, so under this and after spraying the reagent or sulfuric acid spraying reagent, you can observe a few spot has been developed, right? And you can observe the uniformity of the chromatogram. When I showed the pictures in TLC, we got the spot, but it is not in a uniform band like. Whereas in HPTLC, you can see the uniform development of chromatogram. That is the development of a color or the development of the spots. You can get it in a uniform way. That is one more advantage in case of HPTLC. What is the reason we are getting the uniform development? Means since it is a sample has been applied uniformly for all the samples on a equal proportions. The same drug, this is another, we have tried in another solvent, toluene ethyl acetate and diethylamine in the ratio of 7, 3 and 0.5 volume by volume. Here you can see no spots at all into 54 nanometer. The drug is same, but you can see with different solvent here you can able to see the development of chromatogram, whereas same drug in some other solvent composition, you can see there is no chromatogram development itself. So what here, where we can stick on it to? We can stick on it to the solvent which we are giving a better result. Okay, so this is how we are in for unknown drugs. We have to do the trial and method in various composition of our solvents and proportions. We have to try it and we have to come to a conclusion. Okay, so what will be the advantage of HPTLC? Means high sample throughout with the parallel analysis, minimal solvent is it can be used, and multiple deduction methods can be possible, and it is a non-destructive and it is a reproducible results can be taken. And what are all the other application in case of HPTLC? Especially it is used in a pharmaceutical analysis. For example, if you take a since we are, it is not only in a homeopathic system, right? If you take an allopathic system, so they'll be using a various composition of drugs in order to formulate a drug. Or if you take some other formulations, for example, if you are taking an ointment, along with our main requirement, we'll be adding some other vehicles or some preservatives will be added. Or if you want to test a syrup, along with your main medicine, some other coloring agent, some food colors or some flavoring agents will be added to it. So in order to know what are all the preservatives added in the formulation, what is the quantity of the preservative, whether the preservatives are within the limit or not. So those things can be tested in terms of the pharmaceutical analysis, and phytoconstituents of a plant extract can be identified, or else if at all any adulteration is there, it can also be known by the HPTLC technique. Clinically, we'll know the pharmacokinetics, that is a mechanism of mechanical action of a drug, can be known by absorption and distribution. Forensic, it is helps to estimate the traces of drug and poisonous compounds. In cosmetic, similar to your preservation, because cosmetics there is more chances of adulterations and more of coloring, addition of coloring agents and preservation and trace materials is possible. Whether they are within the prohibited limit or not can be known by running the HPTLC. And food, we can know that any pesticide residues are present in food articles. How we know all these things means because since the HPTLC has an inbuilt software, they'll be having a different graphical representation, that is stored data will be there. So so they will compare this, they'll compare the compounds or those graphs with the already stored data. So by that they can come to know whether any adulterations or any excess preservatives or any other prohibited materials have been added or not, we will come to know. So this is a quick comparison of your TLC with HPTLC. So the layer thickness and number of samples you can run 36 to 72 sample also can be run at one stitch. Running time, if it take for a TLC, at minimum 30 minutes and maximum 200 minutes also it will take. Whereas for HPTLC, hardly 3 to 10 minutes we can finish off the process. Solvent consumption will be only 50 ml, whereas in HPTLC only 5 to 10 ml is sufficient. Deduction limit, that is absorption mode, means it is 100 to 1000 nanogram it is required. where that means for any drug to be detected, it should be at least in range of 100 to 1000. Then only you can able to detect in case of TLC. But same drug, if it is less than 100 grams, also you can able to detect in case of an HPTLC. That is a detection limit. So conclusions, I would like to conclude the session by, so all these techniques, so the proper analysis of the physiochemical parameters of the raw material and prepared mother tincture, various other parameters can be tested. In addition to that, today's session is about TLC and HPTLC. It also helps a major role in order to check whether the mother tincture is in a good quality or not. So this helps in delivering a good quality finished product. Because why the quality of a mother tincture is more important? Because all our potencies are based upon the mother tincture. If a mother tincture it is of a not a good quality, if it is something adulterated, or it has been something, it has been substituted with some other species of a drug. So obviously the upcoming dilutions, we can't able to expect the good results. So the success in homeopathic prescribing is based upon the purity and quality of a raw drugs and the finished products. So any doubts, queries can be asked. Thank you.
Excuse me, madam.
Yeah.
What is the role of colorimeter in standardization of medicine?
There are different parameters, ma'am. In case of an optical rotation,
Okay.
that can be analyzed. So there are
And,
various, I was saying mentioned, my problem is in HPA, it is no, they have not mentioned, for example, they've given the graphical representation of UV. But how,
Okay.
what is the correlation of that UV? It is not mentioned clearly.
Okay. Thank you.